I'm gonna put you in charge of winning North Carolina for us, okay? Can I do that, okay? When Donald Trump asks you to win North Carolina for him, you don't say no. And I was like, yes, absolutely, of course. Now, mind you, at the time, I worked for the fake news for a while. I gotta be really honest with you guys. I worked for Inside Edition. I was a producer with them for 5 years. And so I said, yes, of course, I'm gonna win you North Carolina. You put me on the ground there, we'll get it done. Had no idea what I was doing at all. But I went in the next day to my boss and I said, I'm gonna need a leave of absence for about 3 months. And the next day, hit the ground running. And I traveled not only all across my home state of North Carolina, but all across this country on a bus with a group of women. That's right, Trumps travel on buses. We're not private planes all the time. Everybody thinks that. I flew here on a commercial flight, by the way, into Boston, just so y'all know. So I got to travel around this country from August until November on a bus with a group of women. And it was incredible to see what was happening in this country. Because for 6 days a week, I would be on the road, and the amount of people that would come out to see us, and who were we? We were just a random group of women. I'm not even directly related to him by blood. I was his daughter-in-law, the candidate. And people were coming out telling us that they were lifelong Democrats and they were voting for Donald Trump. They'd never voted in their life. Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans coming out saying, I've never voted in my life. I'm voting for Donald Trump. It was amazing to see what had happened. And then I would come home one day a week to change the clothes in my bag, and I'd turn on the TV. And I was like, oh my God, there's no hope. Because they said Donald Trump wasn't gonna win, right? What did they give him, a 3% chance? I think CNN generously gave him to win. Of course, CNN, what can we expect, right? So we would come home, and my husband and I never traveled together. We didn't see each other for 3 months. Our dogs didn't even know us. Thank God I had 2 friends that kept our dogs for us. They were so mad. But we would come home that one day, and we're inundated by the fake news media. And that's when it started. That's when we said, something is not right here. They're missing something happening in this country. But we felt it. And so the day of the election, I remember doing a ton of interviews, and every single one of them said, well, do you really think there's a chance that Donald Trump's gonna win? And I would say, absolutely, I know he's gonna win. And then I was like, God, I really hope I'm right. Now it's all on the record. And we all remember that night, November 8th, 2016, right? So it was either gonna be a really, really good anniversary for me and my husband, or one maybe we wanted to forget. Turns out it was just a really long one, and a really, really great one. So I'll never forget, we were watching in what we called the war room at the campaign office. All these TV screens up there, we were watching all the results come in. And of course, y'all know we were watching CNN, because if they called it, that was real. We knew Fox News was calling it early, right? If CNN called it, we knew that we had it. So we're watching TV, and oh my God, I was just so nervous, because I had promised my father-in-law that I was winning him my home state. And not a big deal, right? North Carolina, just maybe one of the toughest swing states to win. And we really, our polling there was showing that it was a razor thin margin. So I'm just like sweating and nervous, and they're calling all these other states, and I'm like, where's North Carolina? Finally, at like 8:50, 9 o'clock at night, Donald Trump wins North Carolina, all right? So, I will never forget what happened next for the rest of my life, because my father-in-law was sitting right in front of me, and he turned around and he looked at me and he goes, that's because of you. We won because of you. Now, you know I don't believe that for a second. Let's be honest, he was a much better candidate with a much better message for the country at the time. But it was truly an honor to fight for him in my home state and all across our country in 2016. And then we remember it went into the night, And then the next day, the media and the Democrats had a meltdown. And they still are continuing to melt down every single day since. And they were so upset by the fact that this guy that they said had no chance, an outsider, no political experience, had come in and swept the election from the woman they were going to anoint as the first female president in the country, that they decided there's no way that this could have happened. We know what happened. Russia. That's what happened. All right, let me tell you guys something. First of all, who is happy to finally have this Mueller report out? So as someone that worked with the campaign in 2016, I can tell you many hours I spent on a bus with these incredible women, save for one. So I'll name all of them that were on the bus with me, okay? Lynn Patton, who you may have seen on TV before, one of my best friends, Katrina Pearson, who was one of our spokespeople, and a couple of ladies named Diamond and Silk. Y'all might have heard. We had a good time on the bus, now don't worry about that. We had a good time. But we would talk about the fact that we knew we didn't have the same amount of money as the Clinton machine had. We knew we had very little political experience in comparison to them, but we knew we were doing it the right way, and we felt so good about it. And then all of a sudden, Russia? When that came out, we were all like, what are you, I don't understand. So they have put not just our president, but all of us in this country through hell for 2+ years over this Russian collusion nonsense that now they finally released, but no one is satisfied with it, of course, right? Because on the left, they still want to believe it. They still want to believe that Hillary should have won, that it was stolen from her. But we all know the truth. So here we are, 2.5 years later, and let's talk about what has happened in this country, folks. Not too bad, right? How's our president doing? Listen, don't worry, guys. Wait until the meltdown they have after we win big in 2020. It's gonna be even better. Now, I know I don't have to tell anyone in this room, we were so close to winning here in New Hampshire. Oh my gosh, less than 3,000 votes. Really? Y'all know we're winning in 2020, right? Don't even worry. We got it in 2020. The reality is, this country is headed in the right direction, finally. Look at the economy, look at the stock market, look at the low unemployment levels we have in this country. Remember, our previous president said that you would have to have a magic wand to bring manufacturing jobs back to this country. Well, I guess Donald Trump found it, because they're coming back, folks. By the hundreds of thousands, they're coming back. Every single president before him said that they would do it, but it took Donald Trump, a man with what we'll call guts, to finally move the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. Very kind with what they have said. But this country is doing so great. On the world stage, you look at things, I'm sorry, 2 meetings with Kim Jong-un, possible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Woo! These are incredible things. So people are always asking, well, what's the strategy? How are you gonna win in 2020? And I'm like, really? First of all, we had a man who was really an outsider, who people thought was a long shot, who made a lot of promises in 2016. He has delivered on every single one of those promises and more for this country since then. Done more in 2.5 years in office than most of his predecessors did in 2 entire terms in office. So that's how I know we're gonna win in 2020. Donald Trump is doing all the hard work for us at the campaign. We just let him go. Now, sometimes we wish we could monitor the tweets a little better, I'll be honest with you. But that's what makes him Donald Trump. That's what makes him this president that we all love. And honestly, the things he's doing for this country, I tell him all the time, he's gonna go down in history as one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. You know why?
Croc TV.